The Entrepreneur's Library, Episode 28.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Library, the only book-centric podcast that reviews all the top-selling business books and shares authors' perspective firsthand. This is your resource to finding the next great book that will enable you to grow personally and professionally. Welcome your host, Wade Danielson.
Thank you for joining us on the EL. Today we have Andrea Waltz, co-author of Go for No. Welcome, Andrea, and thank you for joining us on the Entrepreneur's Library.
Hey, it is so great to be here. Thanks for having me, Wade.
Absolutely. Will you take just a moment to introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about you personally?
Yeah, my name's Andrea Waltz. I'm the co-owner of Courage Crafters, Inc. and co-author of the best-selling book Go for No. Richard and I authored the book together. We are also husband and wife, and we live in Orlando with our crazy cat, Courage. And we've been entrepreneurs now for a little bit over 15 years. Love every bit of it. Have learned a lot on the way, along the way, and are excited for our future endeavors.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now let's jump right into your book, Go for No, which came out in 2000. And Andrea, we're going to move quickly, but here are some of the top questions our listeners/readers would love to get answered. And the first one was, what was your guys' inspiration behind writing Go for No?
Well, the inspiration behind it was that it's centered around a story that actually happened to Richard. It's kind of, I guess you'd call it the signature Go for No story. And when we would do an 8-hour training or workshop, it was the singular topic that people loved. They loved the idea and the philosophy and the concept of what it means to go for no. And so what we decided to do was, since that was the most popular piece in an 8-hour program, this little slice, we decided we wanted to write the book and really take the topic, blow it up, and really examine it from all different areas, all different angles, if you will, in terms of, fear of failure, fear of rejection, what drives those things, and how to overcome those things using strategies, both tactics that you can apply in your business and just mindset strategies.
Excellent. So what would you say makes your book different from others regarding the same topic?
The primary thing that makes our book different is, well, two things, I guess. One, it's pretty short. It's 80 pages. We designed it to be short purposely. It wasn't just that it happened that way. We wanted to write a short, quick book that people could digest in, under 2 hours easily, so that they could, we know people are busy, and that's the one thing. The other thing is it's a fable, and it's got kind of a supernatural twist. We love to write stories. We love going to the movies. So it was our way of being able to take a topic, which is, a typical business topic, success topic, if you will, but throw the story element in there so people are entertained in addition to being educated.
Okay, very good. So now that we know a little bit of the background behind the book, let's jump to what is my favorite part, and that's the third question, which is really just for you to give us a great summary of the book. Just take us through and let us know exactly what we can expect.
Absolutely. So the book follows a character named Eric Bratton. Eric is a so-so copier salesman. He thinks he's probably a better salesman than he actually is. Eric's goal in life, basically, is to enjoy life, meet his sales quota, which he manages to do week after week, month after month. But he's never the leader of the pack. He's not the worst person. He does just enough to get by. But he wants to excel. He wants to be successful. He just doesn't have the drive, and maybe he doesn't even have the tools or the skills in order to do that and move to the next level. But so he's kind of an average, typical person, I guess you would say, until one night he goes to bed and he has this kind of crazy, weird dream that he's on a golf course. And during this dream, he falls and hits his head. Cut to, we see Eric, our character, waking up, and he's in this fabulous house. He starts exploring this house, and he finds out that the house that he is in belongs to him. And he has actually traveled into the future, and he's in a house that's owned by a future version of himself. someone who's actually wildly successful. He sees that this future him has written books and seems to be very wealthy. He's living on a golf course, which would be Eric's dream. So, the future version of himself has done all of these great things, but he has no idea how he got there. He doesn't know what to do. So, it makes the most sense to try to contact and find out where the other him is who owns this house. So he manages to do some investigating and find his other self, and in kind of a funny scenario, convinces the other him that he's here in this place and time for whatever reason in the future. And the two of them together now try to figure out and try to help each other figure out, what is the average, slightly unsuccessful Eric doing with the successful one. And so we used this convention for a couple reasons. One, again, the supernaturalness makes it kind of fun. It's kind of interesting to think, what would it be like to meet a future version of myself? What would that person be doing? What advice would they tell me? What things do they know that I don't, or that I'm not paying attention to today in my own life that, I could do? What lessons am I maybe missing? And that really is the key turning point in the Go for No story. You see, what happens is these two get to talking, both of our Erics, and they realize that there is a moment in their lives where one of them learned to go for no. And one of them heard the Go for No story, but didn't really learn it, didn't take it to heart. And the key Go for No story has to do with someone who taught Eric that no doesn't mean never, no means not yet, and that his biggest issue, his biggest challenge in life is that he avoids the word no, that he hates hearing the word no, and that if he would actually embrace no, learn to love no, and learn to go for no and get more no's, that he would actually be more successful. Well, the average him just kind of takes that and does nothing with it. The super successful version, in this case, our future version, takes that advice, ends up building a business, writing books, flying an airplane. He just becomes this amazing person. And so what we find throughout the book, now that this is the moment they realize that the two of them kind of broke apart and split paths, if you will. And so the rest of the book really follows the two of them as they learn a bit about each other, but it really becomes the successful version sharing really what Go for No means and Go for No secrets. So for example, one of the things that the successful version teaches the younger version is that it's something we call the failure success model. And so we have a chapter dedicated to this idea of failure and success, and we go through the model. And what the model really is that you are in the middle of your life. You have things that you could do that bring you towards success, or things that you could do that bring you towards failure. And we want so desperately to move towards the successes. But really, this model needs to be reconfigured. Instead of making it a choice where I'm in the middle and success is on one side and failure is on the other, it's I'm on one side of this equation, failure, rejection, hearing no is in the middle, and the success that I'm seeking is actually on the other side. So we go through that interesting model, and we actually explain it in the book in a graphical sort of way. The other cool thing that the main character does is he teaches the 5 failure levels, and it's the ability to fail, the willingness to fail, wantingness to fail. So why would you want to fail? Well, we go into that. Failing bigger, failing faster, why to do that, and what that means. And really it means going for big no's, going for exciting things that are worthwhile, worth pursuing, not just always settling for those easy yeses. We like to say easy yeses produce little successes. And then finally, level 5, which is failing exponentially, which is, failing as a team. So if you as an individual could go for no, increase the number of no's you hear, simultaneously increasing your yeses or your successes, then wouldn't it make sense that to do that with a team could, really achieve some outrageous results? So we share some of those powerful things. Now, in the meantime, Eric is learning from his future self, his successful self, just some personal lessons as well. Lessons of getting over your fear, being more courageous, stepping outside of your comfort zone and not always shying away from those things. So he's learning some strategy and he's learning some of the personal stuff. Another fun, real tactical thing that he learns is what we call the science of setting no goals. And we talk about what a no goal is. And it's a goal for the number of times you are willing to hear no and keep going. So for example, you may set a goal for to get 5 no's this week. So instead of worrying about how many yeses you're going to get, get that one sale this week, and you get that one sale and then you're done for the rest of the week. Well, we explain the science of setting no goals in this book, which is set a goal for the number of no's you're going to hear. Don't stop when you get that one sale or 3 sales, whatever your typical yes goal is, but go for a goal of a number of no's. And we explain in here, we've got a chapter called When You're Hot, You're Hot. And the point is, a lot of people stop too soon. They give up when they hit their typical sales quota, their typical goal. They don't keep going. Going for no and setting no goals keeps you in the game, because when you're hot, you're hot. We've all had times when, we feel good and things are going and people are just attracted to us and our confidence is high. We hit our yes goal and then we just stop and we're done. And we shut that hot streak down. So we talk a little bit about that as well. We've got some real fun stories in here and examples of people who have persisted throughout history. We talk a little bit about, Colonel Sanders and Abraham Lincoln. We bring those into the conversation. We have the 2 Erics go golfing with a couple of Eric's co-workers, and we kind of, well, how are you going to handle that? Well, we just say that this is his brother from out of town. So it's, it's kind of a fun story along with these funny situations. So they go golfing, and our average Eric learns more lessons. He learns lessons about statistics and about how the most successful person at one company was the person who got more no's than anyone else. He was actually the person who won the sales award. So we take people through that story. Overall, we make the case for being persistent, for not giving up, for understanding that no is part of the process and part of the path, and that instead of avoiding no, you actually want to go for no, that collecting no's is a good thing. And we kind of wrap it up almost from, a leadership standpoint. We talk a little bit in our final chapter about celebrating success and failure, that people can be rewarded for their failures, not just for their successes. And that, everyone runs over to congratulate people for their sales successes, but how often do we go out of our way to congratulate people for their failures, or when they get 10 no's, when they set a high no goal and they get all these no's? Well, those are seeds being planted, of course, and that's part of this process. So, from a leadership standpoint, if you manage sales teams, that actually is kind of an interesting piece. And then, like Dorothy, our Eric has to get home. So we have kind of an interesting way that he gets home and gets back into his regular life. Again, a little bit of a supernatural twist. Where was he? What happened? Was it real? Well, we don't go out of our way to explain that. In fact, we leave it kind of a mystery. But again, it's a fun story with hopefully a lot of lessons to keep people in the game, not giving up.
Yeah, there are a ton of lessons, and that's what I think makes this next question so difficult. And that's, if the reader can only take one concept, principle, or action item, or what you just said, like a lesson, out of your entire book, what would you guys want that to be?
Yeah, it's so difficult. Wait, I have to tell you. But I guess the bottom line is actually comes down to the subtitle, which I love because it explains it so well. And that is, and we mention it in the book as well, yes is the destination, no is how you get there. So the idea is not that, we are trying to have you hope and pray and wish for a no and want nothing but failure. No, this is about learning from those, growing from those. But the bottom line is that by just focusing on yes, you leave a lot of opportunity on the table a lot of times, because we assume different things about what people are going to say, whether they're going to buy, what they're going to order. And so really what it is yes is the destination, but no is how you get there.
Okay, great. Andrea, do you have a favorite quote from your book? And if that's hard for you to do, to kind of pull one out, yourself? Do you have one that that your readers have pointed out to you several times that they show that they have loved?
That's a great question. Actually, I picked one that was said by a guy. It's in the beginning of the book. It was something that we quoted from somebody who knows our concept very well. He's a professional speaker. He calls himself, his professional speaking is Joe Malarkey, the worst motivational speaker in America. And we interviewed him for our Go for No movie. And he said, if you are not succeeding fast enough, you're probably not failing fast enough. And you can't have one without the other. So if you're going to avoid one, you're going to avoid both.
That's huge. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And this next one is also a favorite question of mine because as an avid reader, I'm always looking for that next great book. So if there was another book that you could reference, and Go for No was a paradigm shifting book for me because I was always going for yes. And so what's another book that you've read that you could suggest to our listeners that would create a paradigm shift?
Absolutely. It's really easy for me. It's called The Four Agreements, and it's by Don Miguel Ruiz. Four Agreements: speak with integrity, don't make assumptions, don't take things personally, always do your best. I love it. It's something that will help break through if you take no personally, which a lot of our readers do. That's a huge one. I think a lot of people would love it.
Okay, excellent. Well, Andrea, before we depart, can you recommend the best way for our listeners to get more information on you and your book, Go for No?
Absolutely. They can visit goforno.com, and it's just GOFORNO.com.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolutely. It was so much fun.
All right, take care. Thanks again for listening in today. If you would like to get your hands on Go for No or any of the other resources mentioned by Andrea, just look at the show notes at the elpodcast.com.
Looking for your next book idea? Head over to the elpodcast.com, where Wade shares his amazing resource, the top 10 business books recommended by over 500 entrepreneurs, with you for free. That's the elpodcast.com. Till the next time, keep it on the EL.